We always hear that history is written by the victors. But honestly, if you look closely at the major turning points of human civilization, history is often actually written by the people holding a knife behind their back while smiling right to your face. Have you ever paused to wonder how drastically different our world would look today if just one person had simply kept their word? We are talking about massive, world-altering stakes here.
In today's Explainer, we're diving into 3 secret betrayals that changed everything. We're going to examine the hard facts and see exactly how a secret path through the mountains, a hidden letter, and a king's overwhelming greed didn't just end lives, they birthed entirely new realities.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to travel chronologically through 3 immense historical shifts. We've got the ghost of Thermopylae in 480 BC, the king's debt in 1307, and the hero who turned in 1780. Let's see how a single act of treason ripples through time.
All right, part 1, the ghost of Thermopylae and the price of a path. We're heading all the way back to 480 BC, where the absolute fate of Western civilization was teetering on the edge of a rocky, narrow mountain pass.
Picture this. You've got King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, along with a few thousand allies, acting as a literal, unbreakable physical wall. For 2 full days, they held back the massive, seemingly unstoppable Persian war machine commanded by Xerxes. Xerxes just couldn't break them through brute force, and he was losing thousands of men to this incredibly disciplined Greek defense. The Persians were getting incredibly frustrated, and against all odds, the Greeks were miraculously holding the line.
And this is where we see exactly how the macro stakes of a massive war can be completely undone by a micro-betrayal. Out of the shadows steps a local resident named Ephialtes. He wasn't some grand soldier, he just knew the local terrain better than anyone else. Driven entirely by the promise of royal wealth from the Persian king, he executes this devastating plan. First, he approaches the Persians to secure a massive reward. Next, he reveals the Topple path. It's this hidden goat trail winding right through the local mountains. And finally, under the cover of night, he personally leads the elite Persian immortals down that path, emerging directly behind the Greek lines. By dawn, the Spartans are completely surrounded. Because of this one guy, the pass falls, Leonidas and his men fight to the death, and the Persians march right on to burn Athens to the ground.
The crazy part is, Ephialtes fully expected to live out his days comfortably like a king with his Persian gold. But instead, his betrayal was so profound and so widely despised that it permanently scarred the Greek language. Literally, his name, Ephialtes, became the modern Greek word for nightmare. He traded his country for a reward he never even truly enjoyed, and in the process, he came incredibly close to snuffing out the flame of Greek democracy before it even had a chance to begin.
Moving on to part 2, the king's debt and the fall of the Templars. Jumping forward to the early 14th century, we see that sometimes the most devastating betrayal comes straight from the throne.
So, setting the stage, on one side we have King Philip IV of France, who is completely bankrupt from his ongoing wars with England. On the other side, the Knights Templar. They're wealthy warrior monks, loyal only to the Pope, and crucially, they are King Philip's biggest creditors. The takeaway here is understanding the deeply twisted logic of a desperate monarch. Instead of trying to figure out a way to pay back his massive debt to the most powerful organization in the world, King Philip decides, hey, it would be way easier to simply erase my debt by erasing the Templars entirely. But Philip doesn't just attack them blindly, right? He meticulously plans this out. He spends months secretly spreading these horrific false rumors about the Templars, whispers of heresy, idol worship, and dark rituals happening behind closed doors. And once the stage is perfectly set, he strikes suddenly and simultaneously across all of France on this exact fateful morning, Friday, October 13th, 1307. In just a shocking display of coordinated royal overreach, every Templar in the country is arrested at the exact same time.
The escalation here is just swift and brutal. You go from the Templars acting as Europe's primary bankers in the early 1300s, right to systematic torture and false confessions for crimes they absolutely didn't commit on that infamous October 13th. By 1314, their wealth is seized, and their grandmaster Jacques de Molay is burned at the stake. Now, legend actually has it that he cursed the king and the pope through the rising flames, and remarkably, within a year, both leaders were dead. But what's truly incredible about this royal deception is that it did a lot more than just destroy a 200-year-old order and upend Europe's finances. It actually birthed the dark superstitions surrounding Friday the 13th that we still feel and observe today. So next time you feel a bit of dread on Friday the 13th, just remember, it all goes back to a ruthless medieval financial hit job.
All right, part 3, The Hero Who Turned and the American Insult. It's 1780. The American Revolution is at an absolute breaking point, and you have a starving continental army fighting for its very survival.
Right at the center of this desperate struggle is George Washington's most trusted, aggressive, and successful general, Benedict Arnold. Now, he was a genuine hero. The man secured victory at the Battle of Saratoga. But Arnold felt terribly slighted. He felt passed over for promotions, he was drowning in personal debt, and he wanted revenge against the Continental Congress. So in secret, he starts this correspondence with British Major John Andre, hatching a totally devastating plot. First, he'd secure command of the crucial fortress at West Point. Second, he'd systematically weaken the fort's defenses from the inside. And third, he'd just hand it over to the British for £20,000 and a high-ranking position in their army. If the British took West Point, they'd control the Hudson River, completely sever the colonies in half, and effectively win the war.
And this betrayal was terrifyingly close to succeeding. It was only foiled by a sheer stroke of dumb luck when Major Andre was captured by American militias while traveling in civilian clothes. And guess what they found hidden away in his boot? The secret plans for West Point, explicitly signed by Benedict Arnold himself. Arnold barely manages to escape, literally just minutes before George Washington arrives at the fort. When Washington is handed those traitorous papers, he reportedly wept, uttering this incredibly devastating question, "Whom can we trust now?" It's just a deeply heartbreaking moment that perfectly captures the profound shock of realizing your greatest hero is actually your deadliest enemy.
Which brings us to our final section, the legacy of deception and the ripple effect of treason. What we really need to take away from this explainer is that trust is a remarkably fragile thing. History isn't just shaped by grand armies and massive public treaties. Sometimes a single broken promise, meticulously hidden in the shadows, can entirely rewrite the fate of the world.
Look at the sheer devastation left in their wake. Ephialtes traded his entire nation for a reward he'd never even got to enjoy, becoming a literal nightmare in the history books. King Philip erased his most loyal protectors simply out of greed, burning a powerful 200-year-old order to the ground. And Benedict Arnold? Well, his name is now the ultimate American insult. He died in London, basically a man without a country, living in the empire he tried to save, but who never fully trusted him either. Whether it involves a hidden goat path, a carefully manufactured false rumor, or a treasonous letter stuffed into a boot, the shadows of the past consistently show us that the mightiest empires are almost always dismantled from within.
So, this brings us to a final provocative question for you. Which of these 3 betrayals was the most cold-blooded? Was it Ephialtes selling out the Spartans? Was it King Philip completely destroying the Templars? Or was it Benedict Arnold trying to kill the American dream before it even truly started? Weigh the historical evidence we've covered today and drop your choice down in the comments. Keep exploring, keep questioning the history you've been taught, and remember, no one is ever truly safe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.